Breaking news, Gaza unlivable in 5 years, experts say, thanks to terrorist activity. Newsflash, 95% of drinking water in Gaza polluted thanks to government corruption. Why are these headlines more accurate than what you're seeing in the mainstream media? Find out today. My name is Jared White and this is J News. Hey everybody, I got a great show for you as always. I'm going to be talking today about the water crisis in Gaza and who the real enemy is. So it should be a lot of fun. But first, question of the day. Who do you think is more responsible for the water shortage in Gaza? Hamas or Israel? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Alrighty then, on to our main story. If you watched last week's episode, you would know that I talked about a report put out by the Ministry of Strategic Affairs and Public Diplomacy talking about money that is given from the EU to NGOs working on humanitarian efforts in the Middle East. But today, we're going to be talking about a very hot button topic, which is water in the Middle East. So, according to the Ministry of Strategic Affairs and Public Diplomacy, PARC, the Agricultural Development Association, a non-governmental organization headquartered in the Palestinian territories, received 1,497,567 euros. Now, what did they receive this for? Let me tell you a little bit about this organization. Their mission statement states to develop the agricultural sector, strengthen the resilience of farmers, reach out to the poor and marginalized groups and their CBOs, and to contribute to the establishment of a free and democratic Palestinian society with values of social justice. All that rhetoric sounds great, just like the case of the feminist organization in our last video. But what are they actually doing with the money they've given? Well, PARC has proceeded to campaign for a boycott of Mekorot, the Israeli national water company. Before we get into PARC and the Gaza water crisis, I need to explain some backstory about Israel and water because it's really important for you to understand what exactly is happening in between these two countries when it comes to the water crisis. So, quick history lesson for you. When the modern Jewish state formed, millions of immigrants flooded the country. Now, Israel needed to invent some way of collecting large amounts of drinking water in order to support its population. Otherwise, Israel was going to fail very fast. What is the state to do, you may ask? Well, Israel, through incredible feats of technological innovation, found ways to create water from their natural, harsh environment and make their own little artificial oasis in the middle of a desert. So there are a few ways they did that. Well, one of their biggest ways is that Israel collects drinking water through desalination. Desalination is the process of taking seawater or ocean water, which is salty, and turning it into fresh drinking water. Desalination accounts for 42% of all drinking water provided in Israel. Desalination used to be a very expensive process, but through technological innovation, Israel has found a way to cut costs and make it efficient to provide a lot of water for their state. One more way that Israel collects a whole ton of drinking water is by pumping it hundreds of miles from the northern tip of the state from the Sea of Galilee down into southern Israel. This requires a lot of plumbing, but through technological innovation, they have found a way to make it work. We talked about how Israel collects drinking water, but let's talk about how they save it, which is really where the genius comes in. Israel does this very unique technique where they treat sewage water and reroute it back to use it for agricultural purposes, which saves the state a lot of water. And that is where the genius comes in. They have found every single little way to conserve and collect water in the most efficient way possible. That way, the entire state of Israel has water. Now, I said earlier, what is Mekorot? Well, Mekorot is the national water company for Israel, and it operates all of the plants that do desalination, transport, and treatment of water, and it supplies Israel with about 90% of all of its water. Let's talk about Gaza now, because the flip side of the coin. Gaza used to receive the majority of its drinking water from coastal aquifers. Now, these aquifers would collect groundwater on the coast and treat it and then turn it into drinking water that you would ship to the rest of its citizens. Over the past years, though, the coastal aquifers have become an inadequate source of drinking water for Gaza. Why is that, you may ask? Well, the way that these aquifers work normally is that they're self-sustainable. As long as you don't take out more water than is going to be refilled over the year, it works and you're able to keep doing that year after year after year. To give you exact numbers, the annual quantity that could be pumped without compromising the aquifer's ability to renew itself is approximately 60 million cubic meters. Between the rapid growth of population in Gaza and their outdated agricultural techniques, Gaza uses about 200 million cubic meters of water every year. Simple math, 200 million is a lot more than 60 million. This excessive use of these coastal aquifers, draining more water than it could be self-sustainable with, created a vacuum inside the aquifer, which allowed water from the coast to seep in and contaminate the water, polluting it to where it's no longer drinkable. That means the only main source of drinking water that's going into Gaza is from Israel via Mekorot. In accordance with international treaties, Mekorot sells 10 million cubic meters of water to Gaza every year. With 95% of Gaza's drinking water being polluted and unusable for drinking water, it's obvious to say that it's a crisis. The World Health Organization says that in 5 to 10 years, Gaza will be unlivable. But where PARC wants to blame Israel for the water crisis in Gaza, the real perpetrators is the government of Gaza, the elected terrorist organization Hamas. Big shocker, but we're going to go into why that's the problem. Fact of the matter is, the EU and the United States collectively have given millions of dollars to Gaza in order to fix their water problem. But clearly that money's not going used for that. Otherwise, it would have been fixed and this would have been a moot point. The money provided by the US and the EU could have been used to improve upon their water treatment plants or to fix their electrical plants so they'd be able to do more work on infrastructure in their country. But that didn't happen. They could have used the money to build desalination plants in Gaza, but that didn't happen. Or they could have used the money to improve upon agricultural techniques or to fix the bad plumbing that goes through all of Gaza, which wastes approximately 38% of the territory's water. But that didn't happen. Where did that money go? We don't really know. Between the fact that the Palestinian Authority and Hamas are constantly fighting, so it's really hard to figure out where transactions are happening, Hamas is using money that it does receive from different organizations around the world, third parties. I'm not making the claim that the EU is funding terror, but that's a separate video. Hamas is using money it receives from third-party organizations to fund terror. Now, where are they getting the money? To build weaponry and military equipment so they can launch rockets into Israel. Bottom line, since the Palestinian government authorities are compromised, the only reliable source of drinking water that goes into Gaza is from Israel via Mekorot. By campaigning to boycott Mekorot, BDS supporting organizations like PARC are killing the very same people they are vowing to protect and support. So, here's the million-dollar question. What's the solution? Clearly, the status quo isn't working because people are dying of thirst. That's obviously not a feasible solution. Despite Mekorot's efforts, Gaza does not have enough water to support its citizens. Israel used to provide substantially more water to Gaza, but because Hamas got into power and decided that firing rockets at Israel was a great idea, Israel has had to defend its national security by putting up a trade barrier or a blockade between the border. Now, that really restricts a lot of the trade that happens between the two countries or any humanitarian effort that gets in. But this can be fixed tomorrow if Hamas stops firing rockets. To top all of that, there was actually a plan with the Israeli government to help Gaza by building a desalination plant and more water treatment plants in Gaza in order to help the water crisis. But like I said, Hamas, terror, rockets, dead Jews, Israel can't take that risk. Now, for all of you out there that are saying that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is just an evil man who doesn't want to help the Gazans, let me talk to you about how he's actually helping the rest of the Middle East with their water crises, because the Middle East as a whole has a shortage on water. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced just recently to the people of Iran that he wants to help with the water shortage and is providing blueprints for water desalination technology online for them to access so they're able to improve upon their infrastructure, despite the fact that the Iranian government has a fatwa on Israel as a whole and wants to see it destroyed. This act of good faith shows that Israel is willing to work and help with its neighbors, but while Hamas kills its own people and organizations like PARC push for policy that is not only counterproductive to their cause, but dangerous and fatal to Gazans, little progress seems likely. Either way, that's what I got for you today. We're going to give you updates as soon as I get some of that. My name is Jared White. This is J News. Hey there! I hope you liked this video. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Jerusalem Institute of Justice to get more videos like this. Make sure to hit that subscription button and hit the little notifying bell to be notified of upcoming videos. Also, follow us on Twitter at JIJ_Israel. And of course, go onto our website at jij.org to read other articles and other things that we post. Comments, feedback, fatwas, they're all appreciative here. So let us know what you think in the comment section of wherever you are on the internet. So, my name is Jared White. This is J News.